The Chairman Senate Committee on Judiciary, Human Rights and Legal Matters, Senator Michael Opeyemi-Bamidele, has said that the National Assembly will fast-track passage of the Nigerian Law Reform Bill to repeal obsolete law in the country. Senator Opeyemi-Bamidele stated this in Abuja during the screening of the Chairman Commissioners of the Nigerian Law Reform Commission. He explained that the bill to reform the commission was already passed at the Green Chamber and waiting concurrent at the Senate.
The bill you are talking about is already here in the Senate for concurrence, which puts us in a position to now take it up from there. So be rest assured, as a committee, we will show interest in this and work on it. We also look into the details of what has been passed in the other chamber as a bill, so that we also see if there is need for us to take any further step, or just concur as it is. So I really think that's a step ahead.
Meanwhile, the Senate Committee on Judiciary, Human Rights and Legal Matters has screened the chairman nominee, Professor Jumai Audi, and 2 out of the 3 other nominees for membership of the commission. They were Honorable Ibrahim Muhammad Olatunji from Osun State, Barrister Dan Abia from Akwa Ibom State. The nominee for the Southeast Geopolitical Zone, Ebele Donashima, was however absent.
Will the committee recommend to the Senate the confirmation of nominations of Professor Mrs. Juma A.M. Audi, Barrister Basi Dan Abia, and Honorable Muhammad B.O. Ibrahim for appointment as chairman and members of the Nigerian Law Reform Commission? Those in favor say aye. Aye. And those against say nay. The ayes have it. And then, based on this, I want to say that it is my ruling that our committee, based on this decision, shall be recommending to the Senate the recommendation of Professor Mrs. Juma A.M. Audi, Barrister Basi Dan Abia, and Honorable Mohammed B.O. Ibrahim for confirmation.
The committee is expected to submit its recommendations to the Senate as soon as the National Assembly reconvene after Salah break. From National Assembly Complex, Abuja, Nigeria, Muyiwa Bamidele reporting.
Season of lockdown for the residents of Obiakpo and Port Harcourt City residents. Elder statesman Emmanuel Anyanwu shares his thoughts about the executive orders by Governor Nyesom Wike.
So the Rivers people are happy with Wike, very happy. That's an expression of love. Because he swore an oath of protecting the people and life and property. That's the cardinal act of governance, is to protect life and property. That is what he's doing for the Rivers people, and they're happy with him. So whatever he's doing, he's even inconveniencing himself. He's taking a risk for walking up and down on the streets of Port Harcourt to prevent people from coming out. He's done well. We thank him. We are grateful. We are indebted to him, and we shall remain indebted to him for what he's doing.
And some words of encouragement to Rivers people at these critical times.
Well, as an elder, my advice is that he's not doing this to punish people. He's doing this to save life.
Mildred Choma, Ben TV.
The Senate has asked the President to direct the military to expand their operation in containing banditry in Katsina, Zamfara, Sokoto, and Niger State and other surrounding area or states that armed bandits may have want to seek safe haven following massive operation. Senate was surprised by Senator Ibrahim Gobri from APC Sokoto with damning report that the people of his constituent are now at the mercy of Nigerian soldiers for protection against armed bandits as Nigerian army has completely abandoned them. Senator Gobre, who made the lamentation while seconding contributing to a motion on urgent military action against banditry in Niger State, said Sokoto incidents are worse than any other part of the country. According to him, within the last 3 months, not less than 300 people in Sokoto East Central District have either been killed or kidnapped by rampaging armed bandits on a daily basis. He lamented further that aside 300 people who were falling victim of banditry attack in the area through kidnapping and or outright killing, hundreds of cows and other animals have been roasted by bandits which is about 2.5 billion naira.
Now, the situation really has gone very bad in the sense that there is no day where either a person is not kidnapped or the cows taken or somebody taken for ransom. So far, we have lost about 300 people. And then at the same time, we lost about 5,780 cows valued at 2.5 billion. In fact, we have been thinking of writing a letter to the federal government so that we can get reparation for this. Then the way I look at this issue is that the situation is so bad that we only get recourse, we only get help from the Republic of Niger, not even from Nigeria here. What is happening is that when there is a problem, when you call people from the Nigerian army, they will never come. Or they will come and stay somewhere about 4,000 meters and then start watching people being killed. And nobody is doing anything. But immediately you phone the commandant of Solulu, that is about 5 kilometers away. The guy will come in, the army officer will come with his troops, and they help the Nigerians there.
Senator Sabi Abdullahi had in the motion anchor on Order 42 and 52 of the Senate Standing Rule lamented of the daily occurrence of armed banditry in Niger State, requiring urgent intervention from Mr. President.
The Senate, further aware that it was the earlier massive operations in Zamfara and Kaduna State that led the armed bandits to seek safe haven elsewhere, thus moving into Katsina and Niger State respectively, and some other pushing their luck to some parts of Sokoto and Kebbi State. The Senate accordingly resolved to 1. Commend President Muhammadu Buhari for this proactive leadership and directive, even in the midst of the COVID-19 pandemic. 2. Earnestly appeal to Mr. President to expand the scope of this operation to include Zamfara, Kaduna, and Niger State, and any other surrounding areas or states that the armed bandits may want to seek safer haven following the massive operation. And 3, call on the military formations and the Nigerian police to increase their surveillance operations to track movements by these armed bandits to prevent them accessing any safe.
Although Senate in its resolution commended President Buhari for the anti-banditry operation ongoing in Katsina and Zamfara State, but urged him for urgent expansion of the exercise in Sokoto and Niger State.
That there is need for harmony, for everybody to be on the same page to ensure that there is sustained security of lives and property in that place, and that those authorities should work together. Thank you very much.
The chairman of Ikwere Local Government Area, Rivers State, Engineer Sam Awanosike, has signed into law a grazing bill and task force to enforce the bill at Istiopo, the council headquarters.
Ikwere Local Government being one of the 774 local governments in Nigeria, we have decided that this bylaw that has been passed by the 8th Assembly will be the foundation of all the peace that we will experience from today henceforth. And that is why it is important that this ceremony of signing of this bylaw into law be done before all parties for posterity's sake, and so that the entire world will know that we in Ikwere local government are peace-loving and we are ready to continue the harmonious relationship that has existed between the cattle rearers, the butchers, and our forefathers. This relationship has been for over 100 and something years old.
The bill is to secure, protect lives and properties, create mutual coexistence between the indigenous and strangers. Mildred Choma, Ben TV News.
The President of the Senate, Ahmed Lawal, has called for immediate review of the privatization exercise of the power sector by previous administrations. Lawal gave the charge in his concluding remarks on motion considered on the floor during the plenary on Tuesday. The motion titled Power Sector Recovery Plan and Impact of COVID-19 Pandemic was sponsored by Senator Gabriel Suswan. Senate President described inefficiency of the power generating and distribution company in the country, called for a review or eventual reversal of the term of the privatization. According to Lawal, parties involved in the share purchase agreement with the federal government can only seek intervention of the latter when sufficiently justified.
Before this motion was taken, the privatization of the power sector has so far not been successful. We expected efficiency and effectiveness in power supplies, but I think probably on both sides, the share purchase agreements maybe were not adhered to by both sides, but definitely what is obvious is the discourse, and particularly discourse, have no capacity at the moment to give us, to supply us power. The Junkos have challenges too, and I think it's not a good commentary that we should continue to give them money after we sold them to. These are businesses now, they are private businesses. If there are areas that we must intervene as a government, must be seriously justified, but the way it is, I think there is need to review this privatization and see what has really happened, because something is certainly not right. And for the next 10 years, if there is nothing fundamental and drastic in this sector, nothing like power will be stable in Nigeria.
Sponsor of the motion, Senator Gabriel Suswan, explained that following the outbreak of the dreaded COVID-19 pandemic, federal government, through Ministry of Finance, intimated the leadership of the National Assembly or plan to establish a 1.7 trillion naira intervention fund to be utilized to upgrade healthcare facilities across the country. Accordingly, the Senate, in its resolution, while commending the federal government for the proactive initiative to establish 1.7 trillion naira COVID-19 crisis intervention fund, or the Federal Ministry of Finance, Budget and National Planning to include the Nigerian electric power sector in the disbursement of the proposed 500 billion naira intervention fund.
Aware that at the outbreak of the dreaded COVID-19 pandemic, the federal government, through the Federal Minister of Finance, intimated the leadership of the National Assembly of plans to establish 1.7 trillion COVID-19 crisis intervention fund to be utilized to upgrade healthcare facilities across the country, stimulate agriculture, solid mineral, power sector, and also execute social intervention programs that will benefit the masses. Note that while the appropriate executive bill that will articulate the actual use of the proposed 1.7 trillion COVID-19 crisis intervention fund is yet to be presented to the Senate for consideration, the devastating impact of the pandemic on the power sector has necessitated the need for the Senate to draw the attention of the federal government to the need to include the sector in the disbursements of the proposed fund, bearing in mind the vital role of stable electricity supply to current efforts towards jumpstarting the economy, which is still groaning under the impact of the pandemic. Note further that stable, uninterrupted power supply is also a critical factor in the management of COVID-19 patients at the designated isolation and treatment centers across the country.
Meanwhile, the upper chamber has mandated its committee on power to investigate all federal government intervention in the power sector since the privatization of the sector to date, with a view to ascertain the adequacies of such intervention.
The chairman of Ikwerre Local Government Area, Rivers State, Engineer Sam Wanosike, with a crew to the boundary closure between Rivers and Imo States. He further explained that the governor has given his executive orders preventing people from different states also aware of avoiding the spread of COVID-19 pandemic.
It is measures we have put to check the influx and exit of people from our local government and our state. You know that we have advice from the World Health Organization and NCDC that the best method to fight COVID-19 is social distancing. And we're doing everything to check those coming into our state. As we speak, as at this point, this moment we speak, we have some approvals from both the federal government and the state government, directives that only people that are carrying food products, persons that are supplying medicine, that are involved in essential services for oil companies and construction companies, but those vehicles will have nothing more than 2 persons, a driver and a conductor. And they will have their complete identification cards and passes from their various organizations as approved by the state and from the federation too. So we are doing everything to make sure we keep our people safe.
Today we are at Omenelu at the border. So one of my experience here is that here is very busy. And thank God the chairman have come today to see by himself what is happening.
From Rivers State, Mildred Choma, Ben TV News.
President Muhammadu Buhari has appointed Lamido Yeguda as the new Director General of the Security and Exchange Commission, SEC. The appointment was made known in a letter read by the Senate President, Senator Ahmad Lawal, during the plenary on Tuesday. The President in the letter requested for confirmation of the Senate the appointment of the following 4 nominees as Director General and Commissioner of the Security and Exchange Commission.
Request for confirmation of appointment of Director General and Commissioners of the Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC. Pursuant to Section 3 and 5, Subsection 1 of the Investment and Securities Act 2007, I write to request for confirmation by the Senate the appointment of the following 4 nominees as Director General and Commissioners of the Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC. Their CVs are attached herewith. 1. Mr. Lamido A. Yeguda, Director General. 2. Mr. Reginald C. Karawusa, Full-Time Commissioner. 3. Mr. Ibrahim D. Boyi, Full-Time Commissioner. And 4. Mr. Obisan T. Joseph, Full-Time Commissioner. It is my hope that the Senate will consider and confirm the nominees in the usual expeditious manner. Please accept the single Senate President the assurances of my highest consideration. Yours sincerely, Muhammadu Buhari.
Other nominees for confirmation are Ibrahim D. Boyi, Full-Time Commissioner, and Mr. Obi.